And have you ever asked yourself, what am I even looking for? Not in the sense of losing your keys or forgetting where you parked your car. And I'm talking about that deeper question, the one that shows up when you're lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why everything feels off. You've checked all the boxes. Work and bills, responsibilities. And yet there's this itch, this whisper, this quiet feeling that says, this isn't it, there's more. But what? Here's the thing, and most of us think we're supposed to have it all figured out by now. We believe life should come with a GPS, something that says, turn left here, take this job, marry that person, live in this city, and congratulations, you've arrived. But that's not how it works. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of detours. And the scariest part, you don't always know where you're going. But that's not a problem. That's the point. The reason you feel unsure isn't because you're lost. It's because you're growing. Growth feels uncomfortable. It feels confusing. And it feels like standing at a crossroads with 10 different roads and no signposts. But what if being unsure is exactly where you're supposed to be? What if it's the best possible place to start? And because here's the truth, clarity isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. We've been sold this idea that purpose drops into your lap like a winning lottery ticket. That one day, and you'll wake up, hear angelic music, and suddenly know exactly who you are and what you're meant to do. But in reality, clarity comes from action, from trying things, from making choices, and even when you're not 100% sure they're right. Think about it. How did you learn what you don't like? By trying it. By dating the wrong person. And by taking the job that looked great on paper but drained your soul. By saying yes to something that turned out to be a no. Every misstep gave you information, and that's how you figure out what's next. So let's stop waiting for perfect answers. Let's start asking better questions. Not, what's my purpose for the next 20 years? That's paralyzing. And instead ask, what feels exciting right now? What would I regret not trying? And what small step could I take today that feels a little scary but also alive? Because here's what I know. You don't find direction by thinking about it. You find it by moving, by testing, and by allowing yourself to be curious instead of certain. And yes, you'll screw up. You'll make decisions that don't work out. You'll have moments where you think, and why did I do that? But guess what? That's part of the process. Nobody gets it right the first time, or the second, or even the 10th. And the people who figure it out are the ones who are willing to keep trying while everyone else is waiting for permission. So if you feel unsure, good. It means you're awake, and it means you're ready to start searching. Not for one final answer, but for the next clue, the next experience, the next bold little step that leads you closer to who you're meant to be. And when doubt creeps in, and it will, remember this. You don't need to know exactly where you're going. You just need to know what direction feels right today. That's enough to get moving. And once you're in motion, clarity has a funny way of finding you. You know what's interesting? Nobody tells you how uncomfortable uncertainty feels until you're knee deep in it. And it's not just uncomfortable, it's itchy. It nags at you when you wake up, when you scroll through social media, and when you see someone else posting their big promotion or engagement photos or announcing their next big move. And there you are thinking, what about me? And what am I even doing? And because we hate that feeling, we start looking for certainty anywhere we can find it. We grab at other people's answers. We copy their paths. We think, well, and they look happy. Maybe I should do what they're doing. That's how you end up living a life that looks good on Instagram but feels empty when the filter comes off. So let me say this, and being unsure doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're human. It means you're paying attention. And the real danger isn't uncertainty. It's being so desperate to escape uncertainty that you settle for something that isn't yours. Now, here's the crazy part. And most people think the opposite of uncertainty is clarity. Nope. The opposite of uncertainty is avoidance. It's numbing out. And it's distracting yourself so you don't have to deal with that question in your head. And you know exactly what I mean. You open your phone. You scroll. You binge another series. And you fill your calendar so you never have to sit in silence. Because silence is where the truth lives, and the truth feels scary. But what if we flip the script? And what if instead of running from that uncertainty, you leaned into it? What if you said, okay, I don't know what's next, but maybe that's exciting. Think about kids. And when you ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, they don't panic. They don't say, oh my gosh, I don't know, this is a disaster. They just make stuff up. And I'm going to be an astronaut and a rock star and maybe a dinosaur. They don't limit themselves. They don't worry about getting it wrong. Somewhere along the way, we lose that. And we trade wonder for worry. And that's what we have to get back. Because let me tell you, clarity doesn't show up when you overthink. It shows up when you experiment. And it shows up when you take the pressure off and allow yourself to be curious instead of correct. Let me ask you something. What if the next step in your life isn't supposed to be permanent? And what if it's just supposed to be the next thing? We've been conditioned to think that every decision has to last forever. That's why you feel paralyzed. And you're trying to pick a forever thing in a temporary world. The truth, most of the things that matter in your life, you didn't plan. You didn't strategize your way to your best friend and your favorite hobby, or even some of the jobs you've loved. You stumbled into them. You said yes when you didn't have all the answers. That's how life works. So here's a little secret, and it's okay to not know. It's okay to try things just because they interest you. It's okay to walk away when something doesn't fit anymore. That's not failure. That's feedback. And feedback is the only way you figure out what you actually want. Now let's talk about why this matters. Because uncertainty has a cost, and not the cost you think. And the real cost isn't that you don't know what you want. The real cost is staying stuck while you wait to figure it out. How many ideas have you killed because you told yourself you weren't ready? And how many opportunities have passed you by because you were waiting for a guarantee? Let me tell you, there's no guarantee. There's only action. And here's where it gets even better. And the moment you take one small step, just one, you start to feel momentum. You start to feel possibility. You start to feel alive again. Because progress creates energy, and energy creates clarity. But standing still, that creates doubt, that creates overthinking, that creates the spiral of what if, that keeps you frozen. So I want you to try something. And think about one thing, just one, that you've been curious about. Maybe it's a class. Maybe it's a side project. Maybe it's calling someone who inspires you. And instead of thinking, but what if it doesn't work out? I want you to think, what if it does? What if this one small step changes everything? Because here's the truth, and the life you want isn't hiding in some big, dramatic leap. It's hiding in the next decision you make when nobody's watching. And it's hiding in the courage to do something, anything, while you're still unsure. And maybe that's the real secret. You don't have to know exactly what you're looking for. And you just have to start looking. You have to trust that every choice, every misstep, every moment of doubt is shaping you into someone stronger, bolder, and more alive than before. And the answers you want aren't waiting at the end of a perfect plan. They're waiting at the edge of your next step. So stop waiting for certainty. Start moving toward possibility. And because life doesn't reward the person who has it all figured out, it rewards the person who's brave enough to search.